Have you ever wondered why people truly take you seriously? Is it because you raise your voice? Because you get harsh? Or because you don't have to do anything at all, and the room still adjusts? Most people think respect is won through noise. They believe that if you speak louder, you'll be more effective. If you stand harder, you'll look bigger. If you're more visible, you'll carry more weight. But that's the most common misread of power. Machiavelli saw something different. Real power starts the moment you no longer need to prove yourself, because power is often born not from action, but from perception. The more you move, the more traces you leave. The more you explain, the more you get decoded. And the human mind measures you less by what you've done than by what you might do. The most dangerous person isn't the loudest one. The most dangerous person is the one whose next move no one can fully predict. Because what can be predicted can be controlled. What can be controlled gets underestimated. And what gets underestimated eventually gets tested. But an unreadable presence creates distance, and distance is where respect quietly begins. The human mind is vulnerable to uncertainty. It doesn't fear what it understands. It becomes careful around what still holds possibility. That's why people react more to silent posture than to open threats. Because silence creates a gap, but the mind fills that gap with its own assumptions. Did he notice? Did she take note? Is he waiting? Does she not care? Or is there a plan? Those questions break the other person's rhythm. This video isn't teaching you to intimidate anyone. It's not about shouting, threatening, or trying to look tough. In fact, most of that is weakness because real power doesn't feel the need to perform. This isn't a manipulation lesson. It's a reading of power psychology. It's understanding how people build hierarchy not consciously, but instinctively. Who stays calm? Who doesn't rush? Who isn't reactive? Machiavelli didn't romanticize human nature. He didn't focus on how people should be, only on how they are. And he knew this. People don't give respect through logic. They give it through feeling. And that feeling often isn't fear. It's uncertainty, because people fear possibilities more than past events. What happened is behind you, but possibility lives in the future. The moment you start thinking about what someone could do, you become alert. You choose your words. You adjust your distance. You slow your steps. That's where respect begins. The person who controls possibility controls the game. And the power of the game isn't in showing your cards, it's in keeping them hidden. Someone everyone can read feels safe. Someone no one can fully decode gets taken seriously. That's why some people shift the weight of a room without doing anything. They pull attention without speaking. They draw boundaries without reacting. Not because they're harsh, because they're unreadable. Unpredictability is the fuel of quiet power. The mind hates uncertainty because uncertainty means loss of control, and loss of control triggers a sense of danger. The moment you reveal your intentions too early, your maneuvering space shrinks. People memorize your reactions, and once you're memorized, you're no longer a threat. Someone who reacts the same way to everything becomes comforting, because risk becomes measurable. And when risk is measurable, boundaries get tested. But a silent person leaves a gap inside the other person's mind. A person who doesn't answer instantly, doesn't respond to every sentence, doesn't react to every move, breaks the other person's pattern. And the mind can't live with empty space. It wants to fill it. And most of the time, it fills it with worst-case scenarios. Machiavelli understood this. People often fear imagined danger more than real danger, because imagination has no limits. Reality does. Quiet power works exactly like that. Without warning anyone, without shouting, without explaining, your presence changes behavior. Here's the key difference. Silence isn't passivity. Not reacting isn't weakness. It's control. Not reacting is refusing the other person's agenda. Machiavelli believed power isn't running at someone else's pace. Power is setting your own pace. When you slow down, many people slow down. Because you stop being constant, you become a variable, not readable, not predictable. And people instinctively avoid what they can't measure, because they can't control what they can't predict, and they protect themselves by creating distance. That's the root of respect, not noise. Distance. People assume the one who reacts to everything looks strong. Machiavelli called it a trap, because constant reaction shows the control isn't yours. The agenda isn't yours. It's being fed to you. A comment happens, you respond. A move happens, you counter. You look active. But you're being steered. Power is often hidden, not in the first move, but in the last move. And the last move isn't the forced move. The person who doesn't react can step outside the game. And that signals, my attention can't be bought by everything. My energy is limited and I decide where it goes. People won't sit and analyze that, but they will feel it. And a simple, instinctive conclusion forms. This person isn't standing in the same place as me equals defend instantly, equals fire back instantly. The one perceived as higher watches, waits, and sometimes doesn't enter at all. Sometimes not saying a single sentence carries more weight than the sentence. You would have said, now for a deeper layer. Declaring your boundaries loudly often means the boundary has already been crossed. When your voice rises, power doesn't rise with its loss of control, becomes visible. Real power is what's felt before violation happens. So you build boundaries through behavior, not speeches. You don't attend every invitation. You don't reply to every message immediately. You don't explain yourself to everyone because explanation is often a request for approval. The powerful don't they decide. The person who is always accessible eventually becomes usable. But limited access makes people handle you more carefully. The mind trivializes what it can reach easily and respects what it can't. Machiavelli's subtle point is this. A wall creates resistance. People want to hit a wall, but distance slows people down, makes them think, makes them calculate. Distance isn't aggressive, but it creates a gap. And in that gap, people write their own assumptions, often in a way that benefits you, because uncertainty magnifies power. Too much clarity shrinks it. Silence is more effective than threats, because threats provide a frame. This is how far I'll go. The other person can measure you, calculate, decide. But silence offers no frame. They stay in the dark, and no one wants to run in the dark. In uncertainty, people slow down. They become cautious. They pull back. That's dominance gained without raising your voice. And now the final pillar. Respect doesn't come from visibility. It comes from consistency. What's everywhere becomes ordinary. What's ordinary becomes invisible, and what becomes invisible stops being taken seriously. But the person who is selective, rare and consistent, creates weight because their absence is felt. Consistency takes time. It doesn't flash instantly, but it sinks deep, and deep influence is hard to erase over time. People learn one thing. This person moves by principle, not by mood, and a principle-driven person is harder to manipulate because their weight isn't negotiable. And what isn't negotiable doesn't get tested. In Machiavelli's world, respect isn't requested. It's built, and the quietest brick in that structure is this. Speak less. React less. Stay consistent. Be selective. Remember, real power is invisible. Visible power gets measured. Measured power gets tested. Tested power gets pushed eventually. But felt power is untouchable because no one knows exactly what they're facing. Thank you for listening. If you want more Velvet Strategy episodes like this, subscribe and support the channel by liking the video.